Grab a cup of your favorite beverage, pull up a comfy chair, and look through the new 2020-2021 annual Stampin' Up! Catalog with me. Hi, I'm Jessica Taylor, and I've been a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator for over 20 years now. Even after all those years, I still love flipping through a brand new catalog. In this video, I'm going to point out the basics in case you're new to Stampin' Up! And what they offer. Then I'll share some of my favorites and my not so favorites. And finally, I'll point out a few things that you definitely won't want to miss in this catalog. As we look through this catalog together, please leave comments down below. Tell me what your favorites are, what your not so favorites are, and if you have any questions about anything you're seeing, please ask. So let's get started with the basics. First, on page 3, Stampin' Up! Talks about the two different types of stamps that they offer. One is called Cling, which is actually a red rubber stamp, and you put it on a clear block. It just clings to the block. The second type is called Photopolymer, and that's a totally clear stamp that you're also going to put on a clear block. So all of the stamps come in one or the other. You can't choose which. It's already chosen for you, whatever they think is the best way for that stamp image to come. So in the catalog, all of the stamps are shown at full size. So what you see is what you get. Except for the larger background stamps, all of the stamps come in sets, so it makes it really easy for you to know which stamp images go together. So when you're looking at a stamp set, down below it'll tell you the name, there will be an item number, and then it will also tell you how many stamp images are in the stamp set, and if it comes in cling or photopolymer, so you know if it's red rubber or clear. And then it will also tell you if it coordinates with punches or dies. So if you see a shadow image around the stamp, that means that it has a coordinating punch or die, and it will tell you what that is down below. You're going to need the clear blocks to put your stamps on, and you'll find those on page 163. Below each stamp set, it says which letter blocks they recommend with it. You can also get a full set of blocks so that you have one in each size. To clean your stamps, there's a couple different options. You can spray Stampin' Mist on a Stampin' Scrub pad, or if you use StazOn, there's a special StazOn cleaner for just that kind of ink. Because it's more permanent, this will get it off easier. I like to use my Simply Chamois because all you have to do is get it wet, and it will clean especially your photopolymer stamps really well. One other thing you'll want is grid paper because it protects your surface and it really helps you to line things up on your cards. Back at the beginning of the catalog on pages 7 and 8 are some card making kits. These are great for beginners or if you don't want to have to come up with your own card ideas. I also really like to take the kits with me when I'm traveling so that I can make a card when I need one, or just if I have a little extra time for some fun inside. So a new kit this time is the Simply Citrus, and this comes with everything you need. It has the pre-cut pieces, the cards and the envelopes, and it also includes a stamp set and one little ink spot. This Looking Up kit also includes everything that you need. But the gorgeous Posies project kit on page 8, this you want to make sure up here is just the project kit that includes all of the consumables, and then you would purchase the ink pads and the stamp set separately, and that information is down below. So just be aware of that if you love this kit. One thing I love about Stampin' Up! Is their coordinating products. So one way they do that is with a suite. So here's one example of a suite. It's called Flowers for Every Season Suite, and it just has a whole bunch of products all listed down here that go together. So it makes it really easy for you to know what products to use together, and you will know that if you use them together, you're gonna get great projects. So this includes some designer series paper. This is 6x6, and it even tells you what colors are in that paper so that you can order coordinating ink pads and a cardstock with that. In the next pages, it shows you more of the suite. So it comes this stamp set, the jar of flowers. There's also a jar punch, and you'll want to look for these bundles throughout the catalog. That just means when there's a coordinating stamp and either punch or die set, you can save 10% when you buy the bundle and get them together. This suite has a couple stamp sets and also a few embossing folders. And then you'll notice it doesn't say suite up here, so that means that these were the pages that had the Flowers for Every Season suite. You can see at the beginning of the catalog on page 1, it lists all of the different suites, so you can take a look at them. The coordinating colors are my favorite part of Stampin' Up. That's what initially drew me to them in the first place. So on page 140, it will tell you all of the things that come in Stampin' Up colors. Cardstock, classic ink pads and ink refills, Stampin' Write markers, watercolor pencils, designer series paper, Stampin' blends, ribbon and trim, and embellishments. When you flip to the next pages, these are all the Stampin' Up colors. They come in color collections, but so some things you can get just as the collection, some things you can get the individual colors. So if you look for the individual color, like Poppy Parade, this would be the number to order cardstock. This would be the number to order a classic Stampin' pad. This would be the number for an ink refill. And I always recommend that you get an ink refill when you purchase a pad because that will make it last so much longer. And then the last number here is for the Stampin' Blends combo pack. The Stampin' Blends are alcohol-based markers and they come 2 to a pack, 1 light and 1 dark in that color. One thing I don't want you to miss on these pages is, along with the Stampin' Blends, is a color lifter. It kind of helps you out if you make a mistake, or you can add like reflection to your coloring, and that is listed here under the Basics collection. Stampin' Up has in colors that they introduce each year, and those are special colors that are only around for 2 years. So this year they're introducing the new 2020-2022 in colors, and some of them are so pretty. I love them. Let me show you what they look like. So my favorite is definitely this pink, Magenta Madness. It is so bright and beautiful. My next favorite is the Just Jade. It's a really pretty green, but it's not too bright. Then I love any shade of blue. This is Misty Moonlight. The yellow is Bumblebee, and this is very similar to the Crushed Curry color that Stampin' Up carries, but it just is a little more mustardy to me. And then the final new color is Cinnamon Cider, which I admit at this point I do not like. I think it looks like baby poop. I call it baby poop brown. Sorry, but that is just what I think about it. So I'm sure that people will make fabulous things with it, and it will be great for like guy cards or fall cards, and you will try to prove me wrong. I know it. But those are the new in colors. And then you can also get designer series paper in these same colors. So there's 4 different designs when you get the pack. One side has either these kind of polka dots or a wood grain, which I will admit that the wood grain looks a little bit better in the Cinnamon Cider than it maybe does in the Magenta Madness. However, on the other sides, we have a fun looking denim and then also some words. So the words say things, let's see if I can get it the right way. So it says to love what we do and share what we love in a whole bunch of different languages. So those are the designer papers. But on page 144 are the assortments and bundles. So this is if you like any of the color collections, like all of the brights, you can get an assortment pack of cardstock in the brights colors. So you'll get 2 each of all 10 colors. You can also get 12 by 12 cardstock that way. Designer series paper, you can get a full set of ink pads in each, so it's 10 pads, or for the in colors it's 4 or 5 depending on the color grouping. You can get all the ink refills for a color group, markers, etc. A few more basics that I wanted to point out were the paper trimmer on page 151. Here's the number for the paper trimmer, and then you can also get replacement cutting blades for that. When your paper starts to fray on the edges, you know that it's time for a new cutting blade. So I will link up a video also for my best cutting tips so that you can make sure that you cut your cardstock and paper straight. On page 153, you're going to find some of your basics like Whisper White cardstock, which is the white cardstock that I like to use the most. It comes 40 sheets in a pack. It's just a really smooth white cardstock that gives you a great stamped image. You can also get a thicker white cardstock if you want to use it for your card bases and have them be a little bit sturdier. I use the medium envelopes to mail my catalogs. When you take an 8.5 by 11 inch piece of cardstock and cut it in half and then fold each half in half, you get 2 card bases, and those card bases will fit in the medium size envelopes. So you can choose from Whisper White, very vanilla, or even a clear envelope, and those are kind of fun. You'll just want to put a label on to mail them. If you're just not sure about all this stamping stuff, but you want to make cards and you want them to be quick and easy, the Memories and More card packs are great for that. So this is the Flowers for Every Season Memories and More card pack on page 155. And then I don't have any of the actual cards, but I do have to show you one of the Flowers for Every Season Memories and More cards and envelopes on page 154. So these are a little bit bigger than the cards that I usually make, just a little bit longer. But these smaller 3x4 cards that come in the card pack are gonna fit perfectly on here. So you can just take one of those pretty things, tape it on here, put your, right in your card. The inside is white. Put it in an envelope that's pretty. You don't even have to match the colors. I think it'd be fun to mix and match them. And you have a really super easy card. These card packs can also be used for pocket scrapbooking if that's something that you do. You'll see that there's an album and photo pocket pages here. On page 159 are some more basics, like the Take Your Pick tool. This is just a fun tool that has a lot of different things that I use on it. One is a pointy end that you can poke a hole in your cardstock if you're gonna add a brad or anything like that, or you just wanna poke something out of a die that you cut. And then if you turn that, the other side, this is probably the side that I use more, this can be used, and you would just switch it like this, this can be used to pick up things. So if you're using anything like the adhesive back sequins, you just use that to slide it under, pick it up, and then put it on your card. Then the other side could also be used for things like sequins. This has a putty on it, and you wanna always break it off so that when it dries out, you wanna break it off, and then you'll just twist it to get a little more out. And then that's gonna help you pick up little pieces, like little pieces of cardstock, sequins, anything like that. You just push that down, it'll pick it up and makes it really easy. This tool also has a couple other attachments that you can get, like the die brush tip, so that you can put that on and then just roll it over your detailed die cuts and it'll push out all those little pieces. And you can also get refills for that putty. Two other, what I think are basic necessities, are the bone folder. This is great for folding your cards and giving them a great crease. And then also paper snips. These are really sharp and they have a pointed tip that really helps you get a good cut. On page 162, we have adhesives. The Stampin' Seal is new to Stampin' Up! This year, so I haven't tried it. I can't give you a review yet, but I do love a double-sided tape, so that's what I'm going to get right away so that I can give it a try. I know a lot of people like the liquid glue. I do not. I tend to make an absolute mess with it, but it's a little bit more forgiving, so you might like that. But I'm excited to try the Stampin' Seal because I like a double-sided tape, and it has two options. One is a little lighter. I mean, it's still a permanent adhesive, but one is stronger, so it's called the Seal Plus. And that is better for 3D projects and when you need an extra hold. I also love the silicone craft sheet, which is hard to see it behind there, but this is just a little square sheet that I put underneath my cardstock when I'm putting tape on it, so that if I get tape like off the edges, it doesn't stick to my stamping surface. It'll just wipe right off of this sheet. I also love punches, and those start on page 165. I think punch images just kind of take your cards up a notch. And so there's a variety of different punches available in this catalog. And there's also punch bundles. So on page 168 through 169, these are punches that coordinate with a stamp set. So they show the punch and then they tell you which stamp set it goes with and the page that it's on. So remember, if you buy the stamp set with the punch, then you're gonna save 10%. Die cutting and embossing are great ways to step up your cards and other paper crafting projects. So Stampin' Up! is introducing actually two new Stampin' Cut embossing machines. Now, if you're watching this, they might not be available yet. They are not, as of this video on June 3rd, they are not available yet, but I will certainly let you know when they become available. The great thing about these is that they fold up small and you have two options. So you can get a mini Stampin' Cut emboss machine or you can get a full size one. So this is just if you don't have a lot of room, maybe you don't do a lot of that kind of thing, or you want to take it on the road, you might want to go with the smaller one. So as you look through the next pages of die cuts and embossing folders, you'll want to look for this little mini symbol. because anything that will fit in that mini machine will have this little mini icon next to it. And the reason is it's thinner. So this is a smaller width than this. So some things won't fit through the smaller one. So that's one thing you'd want to take into consideration. There are a bunch of die bundles. So again, the bundles is where it's a set of dies with a stamp set. So it'll tell you which stamp set and what page you can find that on here. So there's a few pages of the die bundles. So many great die bundles in this one. Then these are the individual die sets, and my favorites are definitely the shaped ones, like the layering circles, the layering ovals, the layering squares, the stitch shapes, the stitch rectangles, even the stitch nested labels. Those shapes I find that I use a lot more than I do the dies that cut out just an individual image. Then on pages 184 to 185, we have the embossing folders, which are my favorite. I just think it's amazing how much a little embossing can add to a card. When you see this little mini icon, that means that the embossing folders are smaller. So let me show you some of the embossing folders I have and the results that they give. So first of all, here are two smaller ones. So these are the Greenery embossing folders. You'll see that they're narrower. So they're not going to take up your entire card front. With this one, I made a card, but I already sent it out, so I can't show it to you, but I just used it like along the side of a card and then left this part unembossed. If you go to my website, inkitupwithjessica.com, I will definitely be sharing lots of cards that I make with all of these. So this one, I made a card that's just a little bit smaller than usual because I wanted my greeting image to be centered right in the middle of that. So this will still fit in a medium-sized envelope from Stampin' Up. It's just a little bit narrower, but it gives a nice kind of greenery look. The embossing just kind of pushes up the cardstock in a design is what it does. One new texture that is really subtle is this Tasteful Textile 3D. And that just gives, I'm not even sure if you're gonna be able to see it on video, but it's just a light texture. So I really like that. Sometimes when your cardstock is just plain and you have a lot of it, you're like, it needs something. This texture, just a few cranks of the handle, and it adds a lot to a card. I think my favorite might be this Old World paper. And this might look good with that cinnamon cider for like a mappy kind of card, but I've used it on Petal Pink to just make a nice background for my flowers. So this is Magnolia paper that is no longer available, but I'm sure you can come up with ideas with new designer papers. This is a new die set from the Tasteful Labels. And even though that comes in a bundle, I didn't really like the stamp set that coordinated with it, but I really like these label dies. And so this is kind of the one here. And it also gives around the edges, it just gives like a slight, it's not stitched, it's just like a line to give it some extra details around the edges, which I really like. And I also tried one of the other ones, this label die, and I think it looks like a fishbowl. So if you have a fish stamp, please stamp it in there and show me a fishbowl card. Okay, now let's talk about some of the things I like and don't like in this catalog. It might surprise you to know that I really love the Jar of Flowers stamp set. And normally I don't like to color much, but I just love the look of it. Really, it was these cards here. That is just gorgeous. Now, I don't know that I'll do that much coloring to make them look that gorgeous, but I just love these cards, and so I had to have the stamp set. I also love the jar punch, so I'm going to try to come up with some other things for that, but I just wanted to show you, this is the size of the jar. So by my fingers, that's how big it is. And this is just stamped in Balmy Blue. And then I did figure out one card that I could make with it without doing any coloring. So here it is. This is the new magenta color, and I just embossed this flower image in white, and then I'm not sure if you can see it, but I colored in the flowers with Wink of Stelis, so they're just shimmery. And then the background is a new embossing folder with flowers on it, and this is a new ribbon. So you can see you can make really pretty cards with this stamp set without doing any coloring. This isn't a new stamp set. It was in the last mini catalog, but the Peaceful Moment stamp set right now on page 19 is my go-to greeting set. It just has kind of everything you need. Birthday, sympathy, thank you, congratulations, friend, thinking of you. I use it all the time. So I am from Wisconsin, where supper clubs and old fashions are tradition. So the Whiskey Business stamp set on page 33 is a must-have for me. I think my husband might actually start sending cards to his friends if I make them with this stamp set. Again, this is not new to this catalog, but I love the Seaside Notions stamp set, and I use this birthday and this thinking of you all the time. But I also love the seashell. The beach is my favorite place to go, so I love the seashell images as well. On page 45, this is a new bundle that I really like. It's the So Much Happy stamp set, and then it goes with the Happy dies. So this Happy die somehow, I don't have it yet, but I will figure it out and show you how to use it, will create kind of, I don't know how I want to say it, but if you look at these samples, it's like the happy can be part of the card front almost, and then you can put designer series paper behind it. It just looks so cool. I love how it kind of cuts in between the cardstock. So I will be getting this, and I will definitely share with you how to use that. And this is just a really great all occasion kind of stamp set with balloons. Happy birthday, graduation, happy to know you, happy to celebrate you, could be for anything. And so I love stamp sets like that that are just kind of can be used for so many different occasions. On page 74 and 75 are two bundles that are not new to this catalog. They were in the last mini catalog, but I just love them, so I wanted to point them out. And that's the So Sentimental, which has some great greetings, but also these dies are fantastic. There's a bunch of label dies in the set, plus there are these scalloped rectangle dies that come in a variety of sizes. Love those. Also for Valentine's or anniversaries or anytime you want to send some love, this heartfelt stamp set coordinates with the two heart punches. I love a punch with a coordinating stamp, so that's another great one. And those were on pages 74 and 75. If you have grandkids, or maybe even if you don't, on page 97 is a stamp set called A Grandkid. And I just really like the fun fonts in this, like on the happy birthday. But it also says things like to an amazing grandson, to an extraordinary granddaughter, best grandkid ever. But there are some other fun kind of wordings in there that you could use for non-grandkids. On page 103 is a stamp set called Happiest of Birthdays. And I really like this giant wishing you the happiest of birthdays stamp. I think I might actually start stamping that on the inside of my birthday cards. This might be my favorite page in the catalog. I send a lot of birthday cards, and so I do like to have birthday options for my stamps. The Hooray to You is one big floral balloon that says happy birthday. You can see here that they just stamped it in one color and then embellished with some little like sequins or enamel dots. That is super cute. I think you could also use a marker right on here to color the happy birthday one color and the rest another color. Just a really cute stamp. And then these zany zebras are adorable. This is my favorite card right here. I love how they used, that's the designer series paper I showed you before. Comes in a whole bunch of different colors, but I just love that card. It's so cute. On page 126, the stamp set Fancy Phrases. Do I really need more flower stamps? Probably not. Do I really need another stamp that says birthday wishes? Maybe not, but I really, really like this flower stamp image and this birthday wishes stamp. I mean, also it has some other great sayings in here, but I just love that. And so here they colored it, but look at what they did here. They just stamped it kind of tone on the background. Love that. I also think that you could just stamp this in a single color and it would look really beautiful on a card. On page 138 are the background stamps. So these are the only ones that are not shown at full size. These will fill up the background of a full card. And my favorite one that I can't wait to get is the dry brush. So you can see on this sample, they actually used a variety of colors on it to get the multicolored background. Love it. All right, you know, if you've been around me for any even small amount of time, that I love my pretty papers. So starting on page 148 are the designer series papers. Now I have to admit that maybe these aren't my favorites, but they always look better in person than they do when you're looking at them either on your computer screen or even printed in the catalog. So let me show you what I do have. I'm more into pretty bright, vibrant papers. And so I want to show you the Ornate Garden Specialty Designer Series paper that I have. So anytime it says specialty, it's usually because there's a bit of a gold foil to it. Maybe not gold, but a bit of a foil to it. So this is shimmery. This is just a white background with kind of a shimmery gold. And then this one also has some gold shimmer to it. This one as well. So you could color these in. That would look pretty, or sponge over them even. Another gold foil. And then two of the sheets don't have any gold foil on either side. There's kind of a basic background paper. But then if we flip them over, this is where it gets really pretty. This is my favorite sheet. How pretty is that? And then there's some more like daisies. These remind me of my grandma. She always loved these kind of florals, and she always had tablecloths on her kitchen table that looked like this. So here are two little cards that I made with that set. These actually coordinate, it says right here, it coordinates with the Ornate Garden Suite on pages 64 and 67. So part of that suite is the stamp set Ornate Thanks that this thanks is in. So I just made one as a note card size, and then one is a full card size. The other one that I have is the World of Good. Again, this is a specialty. This has more of, I think it's still gold foil shimmer to it. So this is a map, just some grid paper, some globes. And then my daughter was looking at this last night and she's like, how would you even use that on a card? And I will admit, I'm not sure yet, but we will see. If you scrapbook some of these pages, it would be great for backgrounds for scrapbook pages. This is North America. And then I think this might be my favorite sheet. This will make just a nice background for cards. And then on the other side are just some plainer kind of designs. This you can kind of see there's the world map. This one just has like a faint writing on it, but you can't tell what the writing is. So that is the World of Good paper. And then I showed you the in color paper before. You can also get, it's those same designs in any of the color collections. How I showed you there were brights, neutrals, regal, subtles. That's where you can get any of those. On page 153, do not miss this, rainbow glimmer paper. This, I wish that I had it already to show you. This is absolutely gorgeous, and I will just buy all of it. So pretty, and so many ways that you can use it. On page 158 at the bottom, I really like the in color enamel dots. So what I like about these dots, of course they come in pretty colors, but they're pretty flat. And so when you add these to your cards, and they're self-adhesive, when you add these to your card, it's not gonna add a lot of bulk, and it's still gonna go through the mail nicely. So that's what I like about those. On page 160 and 161, we have all the ribbons. So right off at the top are the new in color ribbons. Now, you know, I don't really love all the colors, but especially that one, but I do love the pink, and I think, okay, really, I just don't like that one. Maybe I'll use it, maybe it'll be lovely. But I really like these four. And this is a really nice ribbon. You can lay it flat across your cards, but also I am not an expert bow tire, but look at what I made. I made a bow, and it's not real bulky. So I really like the weight of this ribbon. Some of the other ribbons that I got were the Flowers for Every Season ribbon combo pack. So that has these two in it, a nice gingham, and then this white that you can actually dye different colors if you want to. With like Stampin' Blends markers or with your ink refills, you can make that any color you want it to be. The other two that I have, let's see, I think this came in something, but I can't remember. Oh no, that comes with those two as well. It's a set of 3. So I haven't used that yet. And then this is Early Espresso Faux Suede trim, and it just has the softest texture to it. I really like it. and it's thin, so it'll be easy to use and like lay across your cards. On page 168, I really am liking the rectangular postage stamp. Now this comes in a bundle, but I don't really love the stamp set. I think the punch by itself can punch out all kinds of things and make fun stamps. Especially, I'm thinking designer series paper punched out with that will be very fun. On page 187 are the Just for Hosts stamp sets, but you don't have to have a party to get them. If you have an order that's $150 or more at one time, then you'll get Stampin' Rewards, and you can use them to get either these exclusive stamp sets or anything in the catalog. But I really like the Summer Days stamp set. This image reminds me of Lover's Lane from the Anne of Green Gables books. And I imagine Anne like sitting under a tree reading a book. So I am a big fan of Anne of Green Gables, and that's what the stamp set kind of reminds me of. Okay, so finally, I want to just point out some things that I don't want you to miss. This is a pretty big catalog, and there's lots to look through. So a few things that I just wanted to point out are on page 146 and 147. Really like go through and look at each of these things. There's a lot on these pages, and I don't want you to miss anything. One thing I'm excited about are the new water painters. So they show them here. So it's like the old aqua painters, but look at that like flat brush. I'm so excited to try that. So basically you're gonna fill them with water, and then you can dip them in ink and just kind of bring them across your cardstock is what they did here. But then these have more of a paintbrush tip that you can use to color things in. Also, I love Wink of Stella. That is one of my favorite things to use on cards. It just, again, has a little brush tip like the aqua painters, but it has this shimmery liquid in it that just adds some shine to your cards. Down here on number 21, this is a classic Stampin' Spots assortment. So these are little 1-inch ink pads that come in a group of just kind of some bright fun colors, but then with also the basic gray. And those are great for beginners, or if you don't have a lot of space to store things, you might not want all the big ink pads, you might want some little ones. They're also fun for some different stamping techniques. So even if you have the big size pads, you might want to grab some of those to do some fun techniques with. On page 162, there's something new that I was like, what is that? And it's called a cling adhesive. And it says, easily convert your clear mount stamps to cling. So what that is Stampin' Up, before they had cling mount, they had clear mount stamps. They were still the red rubber, but the label that you put on the back of them wasn't as sticky as the cling stamps are now, and so they didn't always stick to your clear blocks very well. These are little strips that you can put on the back of those stamps that aren't sticking to your blocks, and they will stick to your blocks. So that could be handy if you have a bunch of those stamp sets. Also on this same page are adhesive sheets. These can also be found back with the cut and emboss machines and dies. And basically, if you put your cardstock on the sheet first and then cut out the die, you can peel off the paper backing then, and it's going to be sticky all over the background of that die cut. And so that's way easier than cutting that out and then putting like a fine tip glue on it. This catalog is also full of great ideas, so I don't want you to miss them. I often go through my catalog. Okay, let's be honest. I go through my catalog all the time, but every time I go through it, I'll maybe look for different things. Like one time I'll go through and I'll look at just like all of the images that are in the actual stamp sets. And then another time I'll flip through it and I'll just look at the samples or the ideas. So on page 125, I love this Get Scrappy idea, and they use it on this hello card, but they kind of give you some tips for how to do it. So be sure that you're looking through this for ideas that you can use, even with supplies that you already have. Also on page 103, you'll notice that there's some tips throughout the catalog. So here's a tip on markering, and it just says ink portions of the cling stamp with different markers to create a multicolored image. So when you do that, you're going to use the brush tip, and that's what they kind of show in the picture. So be sure that you're looking through it for ideas as well. If you're anywhere in the US, you can request a paper copy of the catalog from me at inkitupwithjessica.com/catalog. If you want everything in this catalog, then you might want to become a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. You'll get a great deal on a starter kit filled with products of your choice. Plus, after that, you'll get a 20% discount on all of your orders. Of course, there's a lot of other perks too. For more information on that, you can go to inkitupwithjessica.com/su-starter-kit. So thank you so much for looking through the catalog with me. Let me know your favorites in the comments below.